Neringa can do it. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Jeff and Jon's Excellent Adventure.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Jon, and today we've got Neringa with us. Neringa, why don't you spend just a minute and introduce yourself and let us know where you're from and kind of what you've been working on.
So, hi, everyone. I'm Neringa Young from Lithuania. I don't know if lots of people knows that place, but you can Google it. So I'm running software development conferences, which is called Build Stuff. This is the geekiest conference in the Baltic states, I could say. So I was doing this for 7 years, and I guess we will continue later about that.
Right on.
So your event, so it's Build Stuff, and I think it was the tagline or something associated with the event says it's an event specifically for people who actually build
stuff, right?
So talk a little bit about that. Like, what's the vibe of your event, and why call that out specifically?
You know, when we started Build Stuff, it was 2012. So in Lithuania, the market was the conference who are motivational, theoretical, no practices at all. And I could say that during that time, there were no meetups at all for developers. So if you're a developer, you don't have place where to go and have a beer.
Right.
So that's how it happened. Together with my husband, Greg Young, we were sitting in the balcony one night, and he was saying, I want with someone to go out and just talk about practices, have developer talk, have geek talk. So let's do something. And the first Build Stuff happened in 7 weeks. We just
wow.
7 weeks after you decided to do it?
Yeah.
Well, you say that so matter-of-factly. Yeah, why not?
That's amazing. That's amazing. So that means that we could have the next KCDC by like January 1st.
Yeah, that won't
happen. That's amazing.
We may come back to that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, keep going.
So we invited all our friends, everyone that we knew. They came from outside of Lithuania, and it was about 250 people.
Wow.
First year in 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm. We were not having any logo, anything. It was just plain website with some program, like nothing.
Right. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you've come a long way though, because this event has, I think, is it 1,400 people?
Yeah. Now it's 1,400 people, and it's happening in Ukraine and Spain as well.
So you've got 3 separate events now.
Yeah, 3 separate.
And the ones and those are also Build Stuff events, right? They're kind of because you didn't know Odessa,
Those as well, Build Stuff events. But I could say about the community in Lithuania, the community actually grew up from 250 people to 1,400 people, and basically, it's 7 years passed from that day, and now it's like family, I could say.
Right.
We know developers who used to be students, and now they are managers or CEOs of the companies, or they have families and they have children who are 7 years old already. So we're growing all together, and it's amazing. It's not just sessions, it's everything what's happening in hallways at Build Stuff.
The hallway track.
Okay, so yeah, right. So we have a phrase we use for the hallway track, which is
right.
Yeah, and to me that's the most important part of an event. So
it's where the magic happens. It's where all the magic happens.
Right. Almost everything positive in my career, almost exactly what you're talking about, happened because of people that I met or people that I've talked to at conferences. Just talking through. So how has the tech community changed in Lithuania? You said that 7 years ago there were no meetups. There was nothing other than, well, there was nothing, and that's why you guys started a conference. Have you seen that grow more over the last 7 years?
Oh yes, now there are lots of communities, all kind of Java, PHP, blockchain, of course.
Of course.
Google, there are lots of communities and meetups. I actually checked today what's happening at the meetups, and there are plenty prepared for November. So guys, if you're coming to Lithuania, you are coming to Lithuania.
Well, we are coming to Lithuania.
Some of them as well.
Right.
And that's, go ahead.
So now, it's in Vilnius, which is the capital, the event, right? Now, is that where, I'm not familiar enough with Lithuania. I do know where it is, but I'm not familiar enough with
the north side.
Yeah. Right. And well, no, I mean, I'm familiar, but I'm not familiar enough to know, like, are the vast majority of the tech jobs and tech communities all in Vilnius? Is it spread throughout the country? Do you bring people in from, I mean, it's not a particularly large country. Do people come from the other Baltic states to your event? From like Latvia, from Estonia? Are they coming down? Or is it mostly like a Vilnius and Lithuanian community that's sort of part of Build Stuff?
So in Lithuania, we have 60% this year of these coming from other countries. And not the closest neighbors. Mostly are from Scandinavia and UK. And there are a few reasons for that. It's quite cheap flights. You can come from UK to here for $40.
Oh, wow.
It's cheap to stay at the hotel. The conference is also not at the expensive side. And you get the same quality of speakers that you could get in US or London. And
very specifically the same quality, because many times they are the same speakers. As one of those U.S. speakers who's coming out, right? Well, that's the thing that always is interesting to me, because we kind of say the same thing. Where you, well, I know very specifically you have some very high-end speakers. Us notwithstanding, you have other speakers that are actually very, very good, and they're the same speakers that speak at the big high-dollar events, right? But then they'll come to the community events and speak as well. So $329, and companies can spend right. Companies can send many people for the price of what some of the big events cost. Okay, so we talked about community. We talked about the event in general. So talk to me a little bit though about why the decision was made, or how you got to where now you're running events in 3 different countries.
Mm-hmm. So it's all about the community.
Okay.
So for example, in Ukraine, everything started because we had a speaker, Ukrainian, and he said, look, there is nothing happening cool in Ukraine. Can you come over and make something? So what we did, next year, we made Lithuania conference. It was a 5-day event. Then next day after the conference, we put everyone in the plane and flew to Ukraine and made this thing. Okay.
Which actually is a lot of fun. It's kind of almost what we're doing, because we're speaking at DevReach.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then on the 14th, which is the day both of the events overlap, we're getting on a plane and flying up to Lithuania. And so it's fun to be able to go to multiple different countries on one trip.
And to see multiple communities and get a sense of kind of the feel and the culture and how the industry, which I guess comes back to the whole point of this show, right? Which is we're going to get a chance, a week and a half from now, to go and spend a few days in Sofia and then a few days in Vilnius. And I imagine even though there will not be a whole lot of overlap in terms of the speakers and probably none with the attendees, I suspect we have a lot of very similar conversations across the different cultures and the different communities, which is kind of what makes it so neat for us.
Right.
I have a question, and I don't think we've talked about this yet, although you did, you mentioned, you mentioned how your husband had been into the geek idea and want to have geek stuff to do, but you're not a developer at all, right? Like you're not a dev. So, and are other people on your organizing committee technical people? You're all event managers, right? But not technical people.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's super cool. So how is, it actually is really neat, because most of the events I think that we go to, there may be people who are not technical people or developers who are involved, but you have an entire board of people who are not technical running a technical conference very, very successfully. So how does that work? How do you go about figuring out the kinds of topics you want to have, the kinds of connections you're trying to make? How do you stay connected with the technical communities and get connected to all these different meetups as they're growing? I know you said 70 years ago they didn't exist, but they do now. So how do you find ways to reach into those communities when it's not like what you do every day? It's obviously working very well. So how do you keep those connections going?
It's the secret.
I'm not telling you.
Okay, I can share something.
Okay.
It's been a hard work. So I'm doing this for 7 years, and for a couple of years I was traveling from conference to the conference. I made a huge network of speakers and attendees and partners. And my job is not to be technical. My job is to connect people.
See, that is the secret, right? Because to me, so I run an event. Jeff and I run an event together, but we're technical people. We are not project managers or accountants or any of the marketing people. We're horrific at those things. It's just a different skill set. And so having the other skill set is almost more important when you're actually putting an event together. And we know you've got a really good crew of people that do the technical side, because obviously you need technical content, but you actually seem to be much more equipped, so much more than I am, to actually do the business side of running the event, which I think probably contributes quite a bit to the success. So what are some of the challenges? I love the story of you didn't go into the Ukraine and said, hey, I'm going to build a community here. You were called and said, hey, come help me do something. What are some of the challenges that you run into, though, trying to put on an event in a foreign country?
It's, first of all, cultural differences. For example, in Lithuania, we expect that people will start buying tickets after the conference is finished. So 1 year in advance, we already can predict how many people will show up.
Oh, wow.
But
I have that problem too. Do you want to run KCDC? It's like everything you're saying is fantastic.
Build stuff, Kansas City. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
We can think about that.
Okay.
Also, someone already offered that before.
Oh. Okay, so there's certainly cultural differences.
Yes. So in Ukraine, for example, when you sell tickets, you're thinking, why people are not buying?
Right.
And then 1 week before the conference, it's all sold out.
Yeah. Which I feel like is the more regular experience, but maybe not. Maybe that's just us, right? We'll get it with, like with KCDC, we'll get them in big chunks. So they kind of go in waves right before the early bird expires. And then we'll get sort of people who, oh no, we missed the early bird, but they still want to buy them before they sell out. And then we'll get a huge wave right at the end, a lot of times. So it's that's gotta be kind of interesting. I mean, how did you find the technical community once you got to the event, in terms of, the Ukraine, or you were in Mallorca, right? When you were in Spain, is that where you did the other?
Yeah.
I mean, how did you find the actual communities? Did you feel there was a difference in terms of the type of attendance or attendees, their interaction with speakers, the kind of vibe or the feel in the hallway? Because you talk about how Build Stuff feels more like a family to you, and I can appreciate and respect that, because that's what we actually kind of go for with KCDC as well. In fact, our families are actual families are very heavily involved in running the event. How did you feel those communities to be when you went somewhere new, where you didn't have that those built-in relationships? Like, did you feel the attendees were different? Did you feel like it was just the same thing running in a different space?
No, it feels that it's different. But for example, with Mallorca, we are mostly bringing the same attendees who are coming to Build of Lithuania.
You are.
But those attendees are coming with families, with kids, and so it's a totally different vibe. It's a family vacation, and everyone is there. Of course, it's Spain. It's also cultural differences.
Right. Right.
Everything is tomorrow, mañana.
Right.
The small place, Mallorca, it also has developer communities. And we actually have a speaker coming from Mallorca to give a talk at BuildStuff this year. So you could chat with her more about what's going on in an island.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I mean, it's an island, right? That's all I know. I don't know much about Mallorca.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah, I've been to Barcelona, which I love, but I haven't been off the coast like that. So, all right, so that's interesting. So the event in the Ukraine, I didn't know that. So the event in the Ukraine was started as sort of a separate event for a separate community for Ukrainian developers. That one of your Ukrainian speakers said, "Can you come and do a thing here?" So you're not bringing Lithuanian attendees to Odessa. You had Ukrainian developers attending that event, but you were bringing, or maybe some of both, but you had a Ukrainian community. But then when you went to Mallorca, it was a totally different intent. You were actually kind of bringing all of BuildStuff, everything about BuildStuff, and just basically coming down in the summer from Vilnius to Mallorca.
Yeah.
So it's two very different events. I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
There is a reason because of Mallorca. It also comes from the community. They were saying, why are you not doing BuildStuff during the summer or when it's warm? Because it's November and you will see how it is here.
Right.
So they were saying, we want to have BuildStuff where it's warm. So when is
that? Are you doing Mallorca again? You did it for the first time last year?
We did twice, and now we are moving to Málaga.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
so,
it's almost Spain.
Right. Mainland, though, right? Malaga's mainland is on the mainland. Yeah. So, and it's in the summertime? Like, when is it?
It's May, beginning of May.
Yeah, because I've definitely noticed that most of the European conferences are in countries where it is cold during cold times of the year. Right. And at first I thought it was kind of strange, but then we've had conversations because our event is in July. It is not cold in Kansas City in July. It is hot. But we've tried to bring some of our European speaker friends over, and it can be difficult, right? Because they say, well, it's in the summertime and we're on holiday then.
Yeah.
Right? So which is a much more, it seems like, universal thing, at least from what I can tell. I don't know, maybe John's had different conversations, but from what I can tell, a lot of the European speakers communities, they don't do events then because that's when they take their family vacations. So turning something like in Mallorca or Malaga into a family vacation is pretty ingenious. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me circle back to something you said probably like way back at the beginning, which is
sorry.
No, that's okay. Mine just went up that way.
Oh, yay!
Auguste.
Oh, hey!
Hi, say hi. Hi.
So we were talking about family vacations in Spain to run an event.
Yeah,
there we
he's
go.
One of the reasons why I needed conference where I can bring him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. No, and that's excellent. So way early in this conversation, you were talking about building a community and kind of building a family and having this event be more about people being able to talk to each other. So how do you enable that at your event? What does BuildStuff do specifically to enable people to network? I hate that term, but network and get to know each other a little bit better. So
first of all, we host everything in one place.
Okay.
We rent entire hotel where people stay, where people eat, they can go to the Sky Bar, and then in the morning to the sessions. So you can stay there for 5 days and never leave the building.
Excellent.
Okay, cool.
So this is one thing. Another thing, we are making a great party during which you can see people dancing actually till the morning.
Wow, right on. No.
Very nice.
So rest up, John. Rest up.
Yes, apparently.
I don't know how it's at your parties. Do you have
It
pictures?
depends on the event. We try to throw a pretty big party for KCDC. Different events are different. I mean, we don't have people dancing through the night until the morning. That sounds like the event. That's what I would expect to happen in Spain. So we do try. I will say this: there are a lot of times I go to events or people who I know who aren't speakers who will ask me questions. They're going to go to an event. They say, "What should I do? What should I go see?" I say, "Well, you go see whatever content speaks to you and is valuable to you. I think you should try to go and learn some stuff that's valuable right now, learn some things you don't know anything about. But most importantly, don't hightail it and go home at 5 p.m. Stick around for the party, stick around to visit with people, because just like the hallway track, that again is where the magic happens. That's where you make new friends, you make new relationships, you find people that you can actually talk about stuff with, technical or otherwise, and that's where you kind of form something special beyond just, technical content. So that's cool. I'll have to bring my dancing shoes.
And we are also making some activities during the conference where people can start talking to each other. Most of developers are introverts, and sometimes it's hard to say hi. So one of the things, we're bringing some games. Like this year there will be golf, and where you need to form the team, or you would be put it in the team, and then you can find friends there.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's something that I have noticed, though, right, is at a lot of these events, people just need a little nudge, right? I mean, a lot of times it's a lot of people who do the same things. They're in the same place. They're seeing the same content. They've got 100 different things they could talk to each other about.
Right.
They just need a little push.
They need to be reminded that it's okay.
Conversations going.
Right. They need to be reminded it's okay. That's sort of, I don't know. Do you know Jeremy Clark, Neringa? I don't know if you know him. He's a speaker from the West Coast of the United States, used to live in California. He lives north of Seattle now. And he has a thing about the social developer, and he gives technical talks on .NET things, but he also gives talks about, and sometimes short kind of lightning talk style things, where he just talks about how he's an introvert. And he says, sometimes the way he meets people is it's okay to just turn and say hello to somebody while you're in line waiting for lunch, right? Just like simple things. And he's, because probably the other people around you are also shy about saying hello to you as well. And so so a lot of it is just like you're saying, almost giving permission, in a weird sort of way, reminding attendees it's okay to like turn and talk to your neighbor, and providing opportunities to do that, and then sort of encouraging. And sometimes that can work really well just by simply giving people an opportunity to do it. Sometimes. So you said something just a little bit ago about like the hotel, and you can stay there and you can eat there, go to the Sky Bar and dance and get up in the morning, or maybe you're still awake in the morning and go to sessions. You're talking about attendees as well, then, not just speakers. Do the attendees come and stay at the hotel?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's really great. That's really great. And I think that can make a huge difference. That is something you don't see very often, at least not in events around the United States. I feel like that's somewhat unique. There's things like Code Match and stuff where people go in that conference, where they stay, and like everyone comes from out of town and everyone stays together. So it's sort of like, it's like summer camp, right? Or winter camp or whatever, but everyone is there all night long. So you'll see people just playing acoustic guitars in the hallways, or staying up late having drinks, or playing board games in the hotel rooms or whatever, because people are there all night together, so they can kind of grow together. But I feel like that's something special that you don't get to see very often. As a speaker, I don't feel like I see that very often. So that'll be really cool. Like that, I didn't know you did that. I'm super excited. When are we going to be there? In like 10 days.
It's not very long, right?
I know. It's like in 10 days.
It's just 10 days. There are still lots to prepare.
Oh, that's okay. What about the shirts? Do you have a shirt with you? Do we get to see the shirts? Can we talk about the shirts real fast?
Okay.
Yes. So on Twitter earlier today, like Neringa posted a tweet showing that you actually had a video of the silk screening. So you have your crew making 1,400 shirts by hand.
Yeah, a bit more than that.
A bit more than that. And they have hologram, like silver hologram letters.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have one with you, do you? You don't. They don't. Yeah, I kind of want to see one. You don't have. No. Not gonna let.
Don't ruin it.
Yes.
It's only 10 days.
I'm not showing you.
Only 10 days.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm excited. All right.
So, those T-shirts are for the reason. This year, the theme of the conference is it's not magic. It's the code, or something like that.
Excellent.
So everything will be something magical, something with illusion. I can't say everything what will be is prepared there.
Excellent. So it's kind of like we were
like
just at Tekarama not too long ago, and they have branding down really well, and I like the theme. So this idea that the theme of this event is magic. Is that do you have a different theme every year?
Yes. Yeah. We had the old new things about like old computers, old technologies 1 year. Yeah, we are changing. At the first build stuff, we were not having anything.
Right.
But now there is a problem.
You did it in 7 weeks. I think
better every year.
Right.
So we're thinking hardly every year what should be the theme.
That is that's cool. And that is something that gets harder and harder to do. Is how to innovate, right? Because when you have something that works really well, right? You have a conference that already works well, it's successful, it's growing, everyone likes it. How do you still continue to innovate? You don't want to break the things that are already working. We talk about this every year.
Mm-hmm.
How do we come up with a couple of new things to make our event even better, something exciting, something new, something that our attendees and our speakers haven't seen before, while still kind of keeping the formula that works and keeps everybody happy. That's a hard thing to do. So, and the theme, we've never really done a theme. Have we? Barbecue. Our theme is barbecue, but it's always barbecue.
We're in Kansas City. Barbecue's our theme. No, but that's the struggle, right? So back to, we put on it. I mean, we have fun. We try and keep the vibe of the event an event that we want to hang out. We throw parties and we want to have a good time. We don't usually think things through well enough to think of things like, hey, let's have a theme. So
that's because we're developers and not professional like event managers and programs.
We're going to totally steal that idea.
Right.
And so next year we'll have a theme of some sort. I can't release that at this moment, mostly because I don't know what it is. But, we will have a theme this year.
Of some kind.
Help for brainstorming.
Yeah, so that'll be
that in 10 days.
Right, we'll sit down. That's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen is we're going to go to the Sky Bar.
Yeah.
And at the Sky Bar, we are going to brainstorm about themes for next year in Kansas City.
That sounds like a win.
Where lots of projects were born, in the Sky Bar.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So that's what we're going to do, John. We got it all worked out. It's all planned.
Excellent. Okay, awesome. So we're just about out of time. So Neringa, do you have any closing thoughts or something we haven't yet talked about that you kind of want to highlight about your event or your community?
Need to think about. I don't know if I said that this conference is for build stuff because it's not for the sell stuff.
Right.
So,
right.
We are looking very carefully about what speakers are talking, that they are not, whether they are selling stuff during their talk.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Because that is a concern, and actually I get that sometimes from attendees who just say, I went and sat through this session and it was just a sales pitch, right? It didn't help me do anything. Like I always refer to Monday morning, right? So Monday morning when you go back to the office, here's something that I want you to start doing. And yeah, there's a lot of just sales pitches. And I know that does turn off attendees.
It does. Does the concept change? Do you still, so I guess I'm making an assumption, do you have sponsors, partners in that way, like a lot of conferences do with build stuff?
Yes, we have sponsors, partners.
Okay. So does the idea of that theme, now I want to say theme because I don't mean theme like this year's theme, but the idea of, we're not about having people coming and selling stuff, it's about building stuff. Does that impact how you select partners, or do you make decisions about sponsorship in that way? Or does that impact anything beyond the content, or is it mostly, when you say it's about building stuff, that's mostly a thing speaking to the content and the speakers, and that's primarily where that's coming from?
So we have partnership with them. They can have a booth, or they can send a speaker to the conference. So regarding the booth, everything is fine. We just want them to follow code of conduct.
Right.
And sometimes there are problems talking about the speaker and what the speaker wants to talk about.
Right. Oh, because then the speaker is still held to the speaker, right? Standard of, you're not coming to sell anything in your session. You need to talk about something interesting. Okay.
Yes. So
yeah, that's a good point.
But what is great that they are following the rules, because it's better for everyone, for us as organizers and for them, because they're introducing their company.
Right. They're going to be better received by.
Better not to sell it, build stuff.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think one more thing I haven't mentioned. So every year, Build Stuff is donating proceeds for the charities. And for example, last year we bought like 700 mini computers, Raspberry Pis of kind of computers for 5th grade children to give away.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And this year we are giving away 100 diversity tickets.
Okay.
So I don't know if you tried to do something like that.
That's cool. Yeah.
So basically it's a scholarship, as you just have a bundle of tickets free to give away to minorities of whatever sort who couldn't afford to come otherwise. Is that essentially?
Yeah. Because in Spain, like 300, 400 euros is still a huge amount for some people. So we are doing this, and every day I'm getting interesting stories and like very touchy stories from the people who really wants to attend and who knows the stuff about coding and they can't afford.
Right.
So we are very happy about this initiative.
Right. Well, and oftentimes for them, the important thing is the hallway, right? I mean, so if you're in a position where you can't afford the ticket and you're trying to break in, there is no place better to be than in a room with 1,400 other people who are already doing the thing you want to do. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So this year, is this the first time this year that you're doing that? This is new this year?
The diversity ticket?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
For the first time. But before we were doing other initiatives as well, going to disabled children, bringing them presents, buying presents.
Nice.
Lots of.
That's neat. That's great.
Okay, well, thank you very much for making time. I know it's super late where you're at, for making time to hang out with us for just a little bit. We are very much looking forward to coming out to your event here in a couple of weeks. So we'll have your Twitter and all of your information kind of in the show notes on the website. Thank you guys very much for hanging out and watching.
We'll see you next time.
See you guys later. Thanks.
Thanks.